I want you to walk away knowing your next money moves so that you can create a more profitable business, so that you can start paying yourself more and ultimately start building wealth from your business. Welcome to Profit and Prosper, a podcast for entrepreneurs who are ready to make some money while doing what they love. On this podcast, we're going to pull back the curtain and talk about all things business and money, but I promise you this is not your typical boring numbers talk. I'm your host, Sarah Young, a CPA and CFO with over a decade of experience in finance, business, and leadership. I'm going to share everything I've learned from helping my clients grow more profitable businesses and keep more of what they earn while growing my own successful business along the way. You'll feel empowered and confident that you too can grow your wealth, live a rich life, and have an impact. Stick with me and you might even start to think that finance is fun. Let's dive in. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to this week's episode. So today we're going to talk about goals, and I realize as we come up on the end of the year, you are probably going to get hit with a deluge of content about goals. And the only reason I'm adding my voice to the deluge is that I think that a lot of people miss out on considering financial stuff, money stuff in the goal setting process. And so this week, what I'm going to walk you through is how to do a year-end financial review. So how do you look back at your year in finance without doing any crazy math? I promise you there is no crazy math. There are no spreadsheets involved in what I'm going to walk you through. But how do you look back and do a year-end review of the last 12 months and then use that information to make informed decisions about what are the actual financial money moves that you need to make in the upcoming year? So understanding how to focus on what your needle movers are actually going to be. So the week that this comes out will be the week before Thanksgiving. I know that as we all have time coming up that we're going to be taking off of business, I thought this would be a really great time to put this episode out there. So there's actually a workbook that goes along with this episode. I highly recommend that you download it and then take some time, listen to this episode and fill out the workbook whenever you have, some free time to actually sit down and reflect. So I find that, sitting down in a comfy chair or going to a coffee shop or something like that is usually a really good place to answer the types of questions that I am going to be walking through in this episode and in the workbook. So to get the workbook, the link is in the show notes, or go to profitandprosper.co/review. It's totally free. If you don't want to have the workbook, just listen to the questions and hit pause, jot down the answers as you go through the podcast episode. Also, for those of you who listen to this podcast every week, number one, I'm so grateful that you listen. We have reached a lot of people since I started this podcast, and it's been really fun to watch it grow. I have not missed an episode since I started the podcast back in February, but we're going to take the next 2 weeks off of putting new episodes out, and then we'll come back in December with a couple of fresh episodes before we take another little break over the end of December, Christmas, and New Year's holidays. As I'm planning out my content for 2023, I'm always looking for good guests to come onto the show. So either if you're listening and you feel like you have a topic that would be great for the show, send us an email or fill out, actually there's a submission form in the show notes. You can go there and submit a form. But as you know, all of our topics are as things that relate to money, things that relate to finance stuff. And so most things do relate to money in some shape or form. But we just, want to have a topic that fits there. Or if you have a really cool story about, how financials have impacted your life, things that you have learned that you would like to come on and share, totally do that. And I've also been considering maybe doing some live coaching calls. If you have some sort of issue that is getting you stuck and you would love a CFO perspective and you want to do it for free, then also make sure you go submit the form that is in the show notes, and we will look at your submissions and see if we can get you onto the schedule. So now on to this week's episode. Make sure you go grab the workbook at profitandprosper.co/review. and we will dive into doing your year-end financial review and identifying your top money moves for next year. So, the process of the year-end review is going to go kind of like this. First up, we are going to look at 2022 financial performance. We're going to focus on just a few key metrics. And as I walk through the things I want you to consider, don't stress. I will tell you if you don't have financial statements, I'll tell you how you can sort of back into the numbers. So we don't have to do any crazy math. We don't need any crazy spreadsheets. We're just going to think big picture about financial stuff. So first we'll look at financial performance from this year. And then we're going to ask ourselves, big picture, what is it that worked well and what didn't? And when we think about what worked and what didn't, this is both in terms of what is it that made you money? What are the things that enabled you to bring cash in the door and then ultimately put cash in your pocket? And then what didn't? What things didn't work as well as you had hoped, what things did not go according to plan. We would just want to have, write down some thoughts about those so that you can make informed CEO decisions as you look ahead to the next year. Then once we look at that, we are going to pull it all together and look at your identify your top 3 financial goals and list out actual next steps that you need to get moving, things that will be good investments for your business, whether that is in terms of time or money, to get you moving forward in the next year. So ultimately, what I want you to have done is I want you to walk away knowing your next money moves so that you can create a more profitable business, so that you can start paying yourself more and ultimately start building wealth from your business. Before we really dive in, one thing I want to caveat is that anytime we do planning and goal setting, whether it's traditional business goal setting, looking at financial goals, just keep in mind things basically never work out the way that you think they're going to. And so we want to make sure as you think about goals, we're not doing anything that would necessarily put you in a bind, right? Like thinking about investments that you make for the upcoming year. If you're going to make an investment and if it failed, it would run your business into the ground. Obviously we don't want to do that. So we're going to think about, best case and worst case scenarios and try to find, a happy medium in there where these are the things that feel doable. These are the things that feel like they're going to give us the best return. All right, so let's start off with assessing your finances from 2022. So if you have financial statements, whether that is in QuickBooks, another accounting software, or you have a spreadsheet that you keep track of, pull that up. If you don't, then I will tell you as we go through the questions how you can kind of back into the numbers. So the first thing I want you to look at is your sales. Sales is obviously really important. It's probably one of the most important numbers that you have on your financial statements. And I want you to review your sales for the year, and I want you to pay attention to sales by month. So if you look back at every month in 2022, what were your biggest sales months? Where did you have a ton of money coming in? And what happened that month in order to drive those results? Actually step back and think about, what did you do? What activities did you do that led to those big sales months? I also want you to look at what were your best selling offers? What were the things that sold the most in terms of products or services, packages, right? I want you to look at which ones sold the most. The reason I ask these questions is I think a lot of times, I'm totally guilty of this too, but we can get sidetracked by shiny object syndrome because there's so many things that we want to work on in our businesses. And sometimes we're putting energy in places that don't necessarily give us results, whether that's financial or just energetic. We want to make sure we put our energy to where we're going to get results back to us. Okay. So look back and say, what did you sell the most of in terms of which month, which offer? I also want you to especially consider, where did your customers come from? So if it helps to look back at the last 5 or 10 customers that you got, ask yourself, how did they find me? And if you don't know how they found you, you need to start asking them, whether that's in your intake forms, whether that's in onboarding meetings, whether you set up tracking on your website, however you can, make sure you have some idea of where they're coming from, because one of the places that we find shiny object syndrome happening the most tends to be in marketing. And so we want to know, out of all of the marketing channels, where do your customers actually come from? If your customers come from referrals, then you probably don't need to be stressing about email campaigns or ads, at least not right now, right? We want to make sure we maximize the traffic that we know is already working. I also want you to look at, sales by month and ask yourself, were there any times when I sold out? If you have a product or a specific offer, a program, did you sell that offer out? Were there times when you were at full capacity? And then also, did your customers give you good feedback? If you're selling out consistently or if you are at full capacity, that's usually a sign that you can raise your prices, because if you sell out or if customers fill up your pipeline months in advance, that's one of the biggest flags for me that somebody needs to raise their price. And if your customers are giving you really amazing feedback, good, keep doing that. If you haven't ever gotten feedback from customers, go start asking for feedback. It's really, really valuable. And if there were things that didn't work, then again, ask yourself why. Before we move on to the next one, I can't forget, if you don't have financial statements, I want you to go into whatever your payment processor is. Payment processors are Square, Stripe, PayPal, whatever system you are using to process your sales. Go back and pull a report that shows you your sales for the year. And if you need to just sum it up by month, you can do that. You might be able to run the report by month, but I just want to see sales by month, by offer, and even looking, like I've said, into your customers. So the next bucket is looking at your cash outflows, your spending. So I don't want you to drill into every expense that you have, but I want you to go back and look at like your top 3 to 5 biggest expenses for the year. Biggest in terms of dollar amount, like throughout the whole year, what did you spend the most money on? This tends to be either marketing expense, payroll expense, or it can be if you have a physical location, a physical store, or maybe even an office, a warehouse, that physical space cost also tends to be high. So focus on the biggest ones and ask yourself, was it worth it? Would you spend the money again? Or do you need to make a different decision about your spending going forward, right? And when I ask, was it worth it? I'm really trying to get at what is the ROI or return on investment. And so if you spent money on something and didn't get a return, then I want to know why. Was it the wrong thing to invest in? Or did you not fully utilize whatever it was in order to get the return? Then I also want you to ask yourself, how much did you pay yourself this year? And then how much did you save for taxes? In terms of both of these can be zero. If the answer is zero, put it down. And then I want you to ask, was it enough? So how much are you paying yourself? This is literally either how much are you transferring out from your business account to your personal account to pay yourself, whether it was sporadic or you are already paying yourself on a regular basis. Put that in there. Just add it up real quick. You might be able to do this looking at your personal account, your personal bank account, and seeing where your business, sent you money, basically. And if you don't pay yourself, but you buy a lot of personal stuff out of your business account, this one may be hard to do without adding up every line in your bank statements. But look back and say, if you did that, write that down and say, I didn't pay myself, but I used my business account as my personal spending account. This is something that we obviously want to get cleaned up and organized in the new year if possible. And then for taxes, if the answer is you've been saving, X percent of sales, or you saved $10,000 for taxes this year, great, write that down. And then was it enough? You may not know this until you do your tax return, but you might have a sense of whether it was enough or not now. This is one that is super important if you are not regularly saving for taxes as we come up on tax season. If you end up with a huge tax bill, it can really suck if you don't have the money set aside to pay for that. So again, if you don't have financial statements, this is one where, and to answer the biggest expenses question, you probably know what your biggest expenditures were. So go back, find that in your bank account, search the transactions and find the things and just give us a ballpark of how much you spent and answer, was it worth it or not? Same thing for pay, same thing for taxes. If you don't have financial statements, you might not have a good record, but I would just go in ballpark. Did I save zero? Or did you save in the realm of a couple $1,000s? Or did you save in the realm of, 10,000 or more? So once you do that assessment of just high level financial stuff, the most important financial stuff, I have this stoplight review in the workbook. And so it's red light, yellow light, green light. Red light is We're going to go through each area and rate red, yellow, or green. Red light means this is a huge problem. I need to work on this immediately. Yellow is this could use improvement, but it's not urgent. And then green is I'm good in this area. So on this page, I have 7 different areas that you are going to rate yourself in. So I'll just run through them quickly, but again, go get the workbook and fill it out yourself. The first one is mindset, so money mindset. So are you aware of your money mindset? Are your thoughts generally positive about money, or is it something that causes you a lot of stress and anxiety? Is it something that holds you back from doing the things that you want to do in your business? The second section is knowing your numbers. I have clean financials. I know my key financial metrics. The key metrics would be pretty much the ones that I went through from the assessment section. And you're aware of what's generating money, what's generating profit, and what's not. The next one is your cash flow. So your business is currently generating a profit. Profit means your sales minus your business expenses is at least positive. You're confident about your pricing. You're confident that you're spending money on things that give you a good return instead of spending on things that you don't need. The next section is money management. So you're paying yourself regularly. You're setting money aside for taxes. You have control over your cash flow. There's intention around where your money goes. You have an emergency fund in your business and you don't carry debt in your business. Then make a plan. And so this is sort of going along with this workbook, but taking it next level. So do you know what financial and time freedom actually looks like for your life? The point of this is to say, what is the money supposed to do that you make in your business? What is the point? Do you have strategic financial goals for your business? And by strategic financial goals, I mean actually knowing how much your business needs to pay you, how much your business needs to generate in revenue to hit all your goals, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of people don't have these, so don't feel bad. On any of these, don't feel bad. It's just if you don't have these, we want to be aware so that you can identify there's going to be 1 or 2 areas on this page that you need to address more quickly than others that will give you a good, return on your time investment. And then you also have a plan for how you are going to reach your financial goals, including your sales and your spending. Then creating a wealth engine. This is where you take your business's cash flow and start investing it outside of your business. So knowing how much money you need to be able to retire or just be work optional, maybe how much money you need for your spouse to be able to quit their job or for you to be able to fund your kids' educations, whatever the money in your business is supposed to do. You have thought about an exit strategy. What's your timeline and how are you going to get there? And then you're actually saving your money. You are investing your money outside of your business. And you've also given thought to tax strategy, which I know many, many, many people don't. I actually have a whole episode on tax strategies. I think it was episode 26. That was a good one, just as a starter tax strategy. And then the last one is about getting your business from where you are now to where it needs to go in order to support your goals. And so having a hiring plan and having a plan for what you need to do in order to grow your business to the next level. If you have thought about taking on debt or investors, you've really given it some thought. This one might be NA for most of you, but I know some people ask me about debt or investors, so included that one in there. You have a plan to make sure you're managing your cash and you're managing your profitability as your business grows, because as you grow, there's a whole lot more moving parts, y'all. And you've also put financial systems in place that will streamline your business and protect your money. Financial systems meaning an accounting system, a banking system, billing, contracts, payment processing, collections, payroll, paying bills, etc. All these things, right, are super important to make sure that money doesn't fly out the door because, again, as your business grows beyond you, there's just more opportunities for money to leak out. So go through and do the stoplight assessment in those sections and then step back and look at, are there any sections where you have a bunch of red or a bunch of yellow versus where are the ones where you feel green? This will give you a sense of what you need to prioritize in terms of your financial stuff and going beyond just bookkeeping and tax prep, y'all. Okay. So the last part is thinking about big picture. What are we going to do about this? So based on your financial numbers that you pulled, based on the stoplight review, ask yourself what worked and what didn't work. And again, this is in terms of both money, but also in terms of your time and your energy. Time and energy really are money, right? So thinking about this last year, were you burned out? Or did you feel energetic? Did you feel aligned? Did you work all the time or did you take time off? I will tell you, I actually looked back at my calendar a couple weeks ago, week by week for the entire year of 2022. And what I saw was kind of shocking and probably explains why I'm feeling sort of tired. I'm in a season where I'm just like, I need to rest, which is totally normal. I think I looked back at every week and there were like 4 or 5 weeks out of the entire year that I had a full day of no meetings, one full day of no meetings or more. And that included a week of vacation time. And so what that told me was I did not manage my calendar very well. And so this is no wonder I am tired. Okay. So did you work all the time or did you take time off? Did you have time for CEO activities or were you buried in the weeds of your business? I also have said in some past episodes, I certainly have been stuck in the weeds of my business. I estimate that I lost probably at least $50,000 to $100,000 in revenue this year because I delayed hiring a key team member. That then meant I was buried in the weeds. That then meant I was not able to do the CEO activities. And so ask yourself, did you have time for the big picture stuff, the stuff that moves your business forward? And did you make smart money decisions or did you not? Again, not to be judgmental, but just factual so that you have the information and you can move forward. So think about things that did work and things that didn't. I also want you to ask yourself, what is $1 million decision that you made last year? And this doesn't necessarily mean like it gave you $1 million. I just mean this is in line with you as a millionaire CEO. What was that decision and why was it so great? And maybe even taking it a step further and saying, what were the things that enabled you to make that decision? And on the flip side, what is something you did that was not in line with your financial goals? And so my thing that might have been in line with my goals is delaying hiring because it kept me from reaching the targets that I set this time a year ago. And what is one area of your finances that feels unorganized, it feels messy, or where you just don't have confidence? And what are some things you could do to fix this, including getting support if you need to? So the final part of this process is to look forward at next year. So now that we finally have pulled together an assessment, a review of what happened in the last 12 months, we're going to use that data to look ahead. And I want you to identify 3 financial goals for your business and the key next steps that you need to enable those goals. Okay. So these goals could be long-term or they could be short-term. As long as they are moving you in the direction that you want to be going in, that's what's important. And then even if it's a long-term goal, I want you to ask yourself, what's something you're going to do in Q1 or Q2 in the next couple of quarters in order to make a step towards that goal? Okay. So I put an example in the workbook. As you think about these goals, I want you to go back to an investment framework that I have talked about in previous episodes. There's generally going to be 4 areas that I find people need to invest in. And when I say invest, I think that investing goes along with your goals because to work on a goal, you either have to invest money to hire somebody to do the thing, to buy software, to buy a course, a program, a coach, whatever, or maybe hire a team. Or you have to invest time, your time, into doing the thing. And so either of those is an investment because your time, if you put it over here doing this thing, that means you are not spending your time doing something else that could potentially generate cash flow. And so when we think about things to invest in, I want you to think in these 4 categories: your self, your sales, systems, and support. So yourself is you as the CEO. I firmly maintain, if you think about a funnel in your business, We hear about funnels from like getting new eyeballs, converting them into leads, getting sales from people. I would add to the bottom of the funnel, taking those sales and working them through your processes in your business and getting money into your pocket. The size of the funnel is going to be dictated by you as the CEO. And that what I mean by that is your energy, your mindset, your thoughts and feelings that you show up with every day, your leadership skills, your management skills, the level of expertise that you have in whatever you're doing. These things are all going to dictate how you show up, what you do, the results you're able to give your customers. And so I think one of the areas that we need to invest in many cases is yourself. So that's area number one. Number two is sales. And so sales is obviously super important. We all have revenue goals. I like to, step back when we think about sales and not just always jump to, I need to make more sales. I need to grow my Instagram audience. I need to get on TikTok. I need to grow my email list, whatever, right? Think about, again, going back to what is it that worked for you in terms of sales? What didn't work? Where do your customers come from? Were they happy or not? Were you at capacity? Use that information to think about what are some ways you can make more sales without necessarily doing more work, without just saying, if I want to double my revenue from 100K to 200K this year, I'm just going to have to take on double the clients. As we know, that's probably not going to work, right? You're going to get burned out. You're going to run yourself into the ground. And so how can you make your sales more efficient by not just thinking about getting new leads or new eyeballs, but, converting them into paying customers, whether that is tracking your sales call conversion, your website conversion, whatever your sales process is, right? How are you actually converting them into sales? The third bucket is systems. And so this is where, again, when I said we have a funnel, normally we think of it as a sales funnel. I think it's a whole business funnel. And as your money flows from new eyeballs to leads to customers, the next step is going to be in your systems on your back end. Do you have a bottleneck? Are there things that don't work? Are you doing custom everything? Is your calendar all over the place? Is your team efficient? Do they know what they need to be doing? And so if you need to spend some time on systems, generally if you are at capacity and you feel like you can't get things delivered on time, things are taking forever, things are just really painful, well, it's probably a sign you need to look at your systems. The last bucket is support. And so this could be business support. So are there areas where you can hire a team? I would also like to remind you that you can have personal support systems too that also enable you to be a CEO. Okay. This could be getting a house cleaner, getting a laundry service. My goal in 2023 is to have a chef. This is going to sound kind of ridiculous, but to have a chef make me like meal prep food for the week for my lunches and some dinners, because this is a huge pain point for me and something that takes up a lot of mental energy, and I'm just ready to outsource it. And yes, I've tried meal delivery. I don't love it. I want a chef to make me different food every week. This sounds ridiculous, but it's my goal. I want this more than I want a house cleaner. Could you get childcare? I will tell you, we've had a nanny, and we had a part-time, we had a full-time nanny, and my son is now in daycare. And I'm just not one of those moms who can simultaneously watch a kid and get work done. Probably because the work I'm doing is pretty high level. I need to be able to focus like many of you, and I just can't do it if my son's around. He really doesn't allow me to. And so getting support with childcare, whether it's family or daycare or whatever that looks like, even if it's a half a day a week, 2 days a week, like it is life-changing, because the work that I'm able to get done when I'm in my office and able to focus is just way more efficient. So identify your goals in each of those areas. Identify just 3 goals. Focus on the things that are the most important. Focus on the things that if you do these things first in the upcoming year, you will put yourself farther ahead. You will be able to pay yourself more money. You will get things ready to grow your business, to make more money, to reach your goals in 2023. So that is it for the year-end financial review. Again, go grab the workbook. I've given the URL several times. I'll say it again, profitandprosper.co/review. Go download it and do this process when you have some time to sit down and think and write these things down. And I highly encourage you to keep it. Keep it somewhere where you can refer back every quarter, layer it into your other business goals, however you document those, and assess, are you on track to doing these things? Are you doing what you said you were going to do, or do you need to come back and reassess? So that is it for this week. I hope you all have a good couple of weeks. I hope you get some rest, and we'll be back in December with a couple of fresh new episodes. Thanks for listening to this week's episode. Now, I want you to go take some action. What's one thing you can do this week to create more profit in your business? Send me a DM on Instagram at YoungCoCFO and share your action item with me. If you have a question or topic you'd like me to dive into, or if you're feeling empowered about taking charge of your finances, let's continue the conversation. Go to profitandprosper.co to submit a question or topic for me to talk about on the show. And because we all profit and prosper better with friends, please leave me a review on Apple Podcasts, subscribe wherever you listen, and share the episode. Make sure you tag me at YoungCoCFO on Instagram so I can give you some love, and I'll see you in the next episode.